I've liked the SoloShot idea ever since they first came out, and I've owned at least 3 versions. I expect this is going to be the last SoloShot I own, and we'll take a look at why. Externally, not a lot has changed, and it turns out that internally, not a lot has changed. The body of the camera has a little different shape, and they say that's because of additional sensors that they put in place. The shape actually is different, but so far the performance hasn't changed any. The startup routine itself has changed dramatically, and that's all for the good, because it is quick now. There's no more walkarounds, and the camera goes around one time and it's calibrated. It will start off a little bit off-center, but it catches up quickly. When you buy the full bundle of the SoloShot 3 Plus, it comes in this case. This is a kind of hard case, so it should protect the SoloShot pretty well. And SoloShot really is proud of this thing because they get $300 for them on their accessories page. They have some heavy-duty straps that hold everything in place when you close it up. And there's recesses molded into the interior of the case to hold everything. And that molded plastic interior in a $300 case is where the wheels kind of come off for me. Just touching this interior tells you that this is very thin plastic, and it's kind of rigid. And neither of those is usually associated with quality. While I was taking the parts out, I noticed this crack. And when you move that crack, you get to see just how thin this really is. Since it took me 4 months and a threat to cancel the whole order to get this, I wasn't about to try sending this back in for warranty. So I did what any red-blooded American would do. I got some duct tape out. I did have some color-coordinated duct tape, but all I was really doing was trying to stop this from spreading. The tripod that comes with the SoloShot 3 Plus is pretty nice. It's heavy-duty enough that it's going to hold everything stable. I'm not sure it supports the $200 price tag you have it on the accessory page. But I did use it on the first shoots that we had, and it worked fine. You also get a shoulder strap for the bag and a strap for your arm with the tag that tells the SoloShot where you are, and a charging cord. And yes, you either have to find a USB charging port or one of those little telephone adapters. SoloShot has always been really picky about the memory cards you can use. To their credit, they include a 128 gig card with the unit. As I said earlier, they really do have the startup figured out. I barely had time to get back to the plane, and the SoloShot had already done its revolution and found me. It is a little bit off when it first acquires a plane, but that goes away really quickly. As soon as I start moving the plane, the SoloShot starts catching up. I drove the plane down the runway past the SoloShot just to make sure that it got a good look at it. It's important to know that I'm alone at the field for this taping. Once I got the plane in the air, it did appear that the SoloShot was following it, but that was pretty much just a guess on my part and had to look quick. Here the plane is closer to the SoloShot than they recommend, but it's actually holding focus pretty good. It's probably a good thing to remember what they say about all good things coming to an end. I'm going to do a different video on actually setting up the SoloShot, but for our purposes here, I just set everything about in the middle. My plan was to get a few flights in and use that as a baseline. I've been making wing bags till 1 or 2 in the morning most nights, so I haven't been flying much. I wanted to keep it pretty simple for this first flight and get used to flying the plane again and see what the SoloShot could do. When I first started watching this video, I thought maybe we had a chance at this unit being fixed. Then just when I thought maybe the SoloShot had this handled, it disappeared. I was intentionally flying the plane pretty slowly to give the SoloShot a chance. I thought it might need a time or 2 back and forth to get really locked in. One of the things that bothered me about the earlier versions of the SoloShot is that it got faked out pretty easily at odd times. Here I was just making a lazy turn back down a runway, and the SoloShot couldn't figure out where it went. Then when it did find the plane, it lost focus. I had a good bit of wind coming right down the runway left to right, so I was able to make some nice slow approaches, and the SoloShot lost it anyway. Remember all those problems this SoloShot was supposed to fix? Here's a big one. It looks like the SoloShot has plenty of pan speed, but it just didn't know where the airplane was. My old SoloShots always did a good job of getting the planes on approach. Even though the plane was bouncing around quite a bit in the wind, the SoloShot did keep it nicely framed coming in. Once again, I drove the plane past the camera at a pretty slow pace and then took off again. I couldn't find any one kind of situation that made the SoloShot lose focus. This cycle of losing focus or tracking, or both, continued through all the video that we shot. Other times as the plane passed through the same areas it lost focus in before, it stayed nice and sharp. I decided to speed the plane up some and run it back and forth on the field and see how the SoloShot did then, and the results were pretty predictable. I'm flying an electric Flex Innovations Cap 232, and while it's a good plane, it's not real fast. I thought with all the supposed improvements, the SoloShot had a good chance of keeping up with this plane. But it looks like most of the old problems remain. On this day, my problems were going to get a lot worse, and they weren't any fault of the SoloShot. Through much of the second flight, I sped the cap up and jerked it around the sky to see how its SoloShot could keep up. And the SoloShot3 Plus is acting a whole lot like the SoloShot2. Every once in a while, the SoloShot would go through a long time where it couldn't find the airplane. Most of the time, it seemed that after a couple of seconds, the SoloShot would start finding the plane. Sometimes it took a lot longer. After jerking it around quite a bit in the air, I decided to do a touch and go, and then another hard go around to see if the SoloShot would keep up. And here again, it seems the SoloShot is staying in focus when it really shouldn't be because it's too close. Then watch the focus go away as I turn and head down parallel to the runway. And it was that loss of focus that made me crash, honest. It's like the SoloShot thinks the plane should be this far underground. I would find out that the SoloShot used its evil mumbo jumbo and caused me to forget to put one of the wing bolts in. And while forgetting a bolt ticks me off, what's even worse is that we lost the tag from the SoloShot, so far anyway, and found out that a new one of those little tags is $250. When I get a new tag or find the old one, we're going to do some more videos on the SoloShot3 Plus. I want to try some different settings to see if we can help it tune in a little bit. You'll have to look up the current price, but we can safely say that the SoloShot3 is pretty expensive. And as makes sense with all big purchases, you ought to investigate things, maybe check the Better Business Bureau and see what everybody else thinks. It's way easier to be cautious before you make such a big buy, something I need to work on.